What's up, seniors? It's Ashley, and I am bringing you a screencast on how to create an MLA bibliographical citation and how to format your MLA works cited page, otherwise known as a bibliography. So pull up a seat, sit back, and let's dive into the deep world of MLA citation using my favorite resource, OWL at Purdue. All right, repeat this with me, y'all. If you don't know what to do, Google OWL at Purdue. Purdue University has created a wonderful resource that is called the Online Writing Lab, and that is the abbreviation OWL. And I'm going to Google here OWL at Purdue MLA Works Cited. And the first link that pulls up, this owl.purdue.edu MLA Works Cited page, is what I'm going to click on. There will come a time when you have left the Animus nest and you are no longer a student in my classroom, and you will be out there in the world all by yourself wondering how to cite a source. And I may not be right there to help you. And so I want to give you the tools to be resourceful and resilient and self-reliant in case you have adults or professors in your life who just don't give a darn. So here we go. We're at this wonderful website, and on the left-hand side here, you can see there's all sorts of resources. And OWL at Purdue has a ton of different things. If you snoop around a little bit more, you can get resources on how to write any type of paper you might be assigned in college, how to do really good research, how to all sorts of grammar and spelling resources on this website. But we're focusing today on research and citation, and specifically the MLA style and MLA formatting and style guide. So this is where it took us to when I clicked on that first link in Google. If you needed to know how to do some in-text citations, which we will get to later when it's time for you guys to integrate quotes into your thesis paper, you could go to this resource. Same thing with formatting quotations here. How do you actually format them correctly in a paper? We'll learn that later on, but for now we're looking at the works cited page, and we've got this basic format page. So if you go over here to the right-hand side, it'll walk you through some basic rules that you should follow when you're creating a citation for a specific source. Right here embedded in the site, they do have a website creation engine, very much like OWL at Purdue. So if you have a website or a book title or a journal title, online video or film, you could just try to pop it right in here, search by URL, title, and try to cite it and see if it comes up. If you do that and you get an error, then you're going to need to dig a little deeper and do some more work on your own, the old-fashioned way. So this basic rules page has some pretty important information about your citations. You should double space all citations, but do not skip spaces between entries. We'll get to that when you actually set up your works cited page. But there's some pretty nitpicky rules. Indent the second and subsequent lines of citations by 0.5 inches to create a hanging indent. And again, I'll show you an example of all this stuff. But some other basic rules they have that are particularly important is when you're listing authors' names, always list it by the last name first, followed by a comma, and then the first name. You don't list titles or degrees like PhD or doctor, but include suffixes like junior or the second. For instance, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would be cited as King, comma, Martin Luther, comma, Jr. period. If you have a work by more than one author, you put them in the order in which they were listed. Sorry, this is more than one work by an author. So for instance, you've got these two sources by this guy, Kenneth Burke. The first source, this article, A Grammar of Motives, you put his name, and then the next one you just do dash, 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 and then his next title. And that indicates that this second source here is by the same author. This would be in your bibliography, your works cited page. If you have a source by more than 3 authors, you end up putting et al, et period.al, and that's not listed on this page, but we can get to that later on. What I do want to cover, though, is how to cite a source when you have a link, but that link doesn't really work. So for instance, like a PDF, and it's an electronic PDF, but you can't just put the link in. You get an error when you try to do that in this search engine box. And so we're going to go to periodicals right here on the left-hand side. And periodicals include magazines, newspapers, and scholarly journals, which is what a lot of your research is coming from. So if for some reason you're trying to cite a type of source not described on this page specifically, you can use this basic format and just omit any information that's listed here that does not apply to your particular source. If you can't find the information, you can ignore it. But if you're looking to cite an article in a magazine, let's say Time Magazine, National Geographic, these are the basic ways you do that. The author or authors, title of the article, title of the periodical, so that would be, for instance, National Geographic, the day, the month, the year, and the pages. And you really want to pay attention to the punctuation. Here they have a period, here they have a period, here they have a comma between the name of the magazine and the month it was published, the day, month, year it was published, and then they give you a couple examples. So that is if you're citing a magazine, or an article rather, in that magazine. Here's how you would cite it if you had an article in a newspaper, like the Durango Herald, for instance, and there was an article in the Durango Herald that you wanted to cite. For those of you wanting to cite right now a PDF document that is a scholarly article, you're going to scroll all the way down towards the bottom here, and they explain how to do that for an article in a scholarly journal. The author's names, the title of the article, the title of the journal, the volume, the issue, the year, and the pages. And then they give you an example. Here is an example scholarly article that one of you all sent to me, and you can see that this one has a bunch of authors. So for this one, you would just list the first 3 authors listed under the title. So Lambin, Turner, and Geist. You would do Lambin, comma, Eric F, period, comma, Turner, comma, BL, period, comma, Geist, comma, Helmet, J, period. And then you would list the article title here, The Causes of Land Use and Land Cover Change, Moving Beyond the Myths. Then you got to do a little snooping around to figure out what is the journal. You can see in fine print, usually at the top, sometimes it's located at the bottom, they will have the journal title. This one is called Global Environmental Change. And it looks like the volume is 11, either volume 11 or issue 11. The year of publication is 2001. And then the page range here is 261 through 269. So that is basically the information you're going to need to cite this particular journal. And then you'll go back here, you'll follow this format and using one of these examples as a guide for how to do that. If you have just a basic website, this is from CU Boulder. So it's an academic source, it's an article on a website that's from a university on the impacts of climate change in Colorado. This is really easy. You can just take this link, you can cruise on up to, either use EasyBib or on OWL at Purdue, this search engine box here. This is a website, so I click website there, I paste in that link, and I click cite. It's going to take me to this citationmachine.net, and it's going to take a second to pull it up. It's going to ask me, is this the right one? I say yes, click on it. I can verify, yep, that is the right one. And then I'm going to click cite. And it's got all the information that looks like pretty much I need. Sometimes it'll ask you to enter a little bit more information that you'll have to go back to the website and try to find. If you've got everything for the most part, you can just do continue. Here's where they're asking you to put a little bit more information in. So if you can find the author's name on the website, it might be listed at the bottom. This one, it does not have an author, so you can leave it blank. And for the most part, I'm okay if you guys just have, the title of the website, the link, the day and month it was published. That's enough for me. If I'm trying to find that source later on, it's very easy for me to find that. And there it is. And you can see this is what it means by that hanging indent tab, half of an inch in to the right, that second line there. You can then copy that and paste it into your bibliography. So that's how to basically use this OWL at Purdue to figure out how to cite a particular source. You can see that they have lots of other website or links here for you if you're trying to cite a book, an electronic source, or other common sources. If you're trying to cite an interview, for instance, you can go under other common sources and figure that out. Here they have a sample MLA works cited page, which is a really handy example for how you would format your bibliography. And you can see that what they've done is they have all their sources in alphabetical order, right? D, E, G. So you're going to put it in alphabetical order by the first word of the citation. The first word typically is going to be the author's last name, unless there is no author for the source, in which case it'll most likely be the title. And then you're going to double space everything for each individual entry. So you can see this is double spaced here for this article by Cornelia Dean. However, you do not double space between entries, so you can see that it is not double spaced between this next source by Roger Ebert. You also can see that every line after the first line of this source is indented by 1/2 inch. And you can see that's done for Roger Ebert's article as well, etc. So this is the proper way to format your bibliography. You can see this inconvenient truth does not have an author. So the first word is actually I. You don't count Anne. So this is still in alphabetical order, Harris, and then I, inconvenient, and then you've got Marcel Leroux. You can see that this article here was by the same author, William Nordhaus, because there's the dash, dash, dash indicating that it's the same author. Some of these rules I realize are kind of ridiculous and absurd. That's why we've got Al at Purdue to remind us of all these things that no one could ever remember. That's about it. If you have any questions, as always, let me know. Send me an email. Hope you found this useful and have a great day.